What's happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. Harry Scarfe here, delivering this video to you, and I'm really excited for this because it's the 25-26 Spurs predictions. So how far I think we're going to get in every competition. I mean, I've done this, so it allowed me to see the first game of the season, engaging idea. Not that maybe you learned too much against Burnley, but no, all jokes aside, a lot of content as you saw coming out in that last week, so I didn't manage to film this. I was packing holiday, currently away on holiday in Corsica, and I said before, the signal isn't great, so I hope this does get you okay, and you can hear loud and clear. Do let me know in the comments below. But yeah, very excited to deliver this. If you're new, please do like and subscribe, and thank you for all the support recently. Let's get straight into it. So we can go through every competition and say how far I think we're going to get. Premier League then, let's start with that. So we finished 17th last season under Ange Postecoglou. The club said they sacked him, well really is in the, Ange Postecoglou sacking statement and the Thomas Frank appointment that their aim is to compete on all four fronts. I'd argue that Ange is a Tottenham Hotspur legend. I'd go as far as saying that, and should always be remembered. I think the club do recognise this as well, to be fair, for delivering that trophy. Our first, the third European trophy ever at Tottenham Hotspur, and our first major trophy in 17 years. The first in my lifetime. Look, this shirt, you've got Europa League, Bilbao. If I turn around, you might be able to see it. Look, winners on the back. Ange Postecoglou, delivered that. That's Ange. So I'll forever be grateful to him for that, and that can't be forgotten. And he was given a really thin squad, in my opinion, by the board, but nonetheless we did town tools in the league, and that is for me never acceptable, and I can't condone Tottenham finished 17th in the Premier League. I don't agree with the decision necessarily at this moment in time to sack him, but I can understand why a lot more than maybe at the time. And I think Thomas Frank's a great appointment, and I do think Frank is better for Tottenham right now than Postecoglou. But either way, the Premier League, I think this would be probably the lowest he'd finish under Frank, in terms of that makes sense. His first season, I think it's quite tough on him to have Champions League. As exciting it would be for him and Spurs fans to have Champions League in his first season is a lot. It's a lot for him to juggle. He could have done with maybe no Europe like Ange had and get time to understand the squad, one game a week, less strenuous. It's really hard to say at this moment in time, because at the time of recording, neither Eze or Savinha is done. We haven't signed either of those players. It's just been, we've made Tail and Danso permanent. That's so far, and Kudus we signed him not that long ago, Paulinho. That's the latest at the time of recording. I'm just saying this because it might take a while to get out to you because of the signal and Wi-Fi out here in France, where we are very remote, as nice as it is, the Villa. So Premier League, lowest finish I think under Frank, but I think we'll be okay and we'll be competitive. It really just depends. If you said to me, Harry, we signed Eze and Savinha, I go, come on then, bring on top 4-5 and the push for Champions League already in Frank's first season. Realistically, in my head, I have a 7 to 8, and this is because other teams have improved, right? I think you have this bracket of Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City and Chelsea, which unfortunately for Tottenham this season, I view, in my opinion, as untouchable, mainly because of the window they've had. But Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, we're never going to touch them anyway. But Chelsea, because of the window they've had, they're so elevated a long way away. I think we've got to accept that. So already it's very hard to get in the top 4. I think the 5th is the absolute highest we could achieve. And you've got Man United, not being funny, and people will laugh at me saying this, but to sign Brahim Mbeumo is massive. To sign Benjamin Sesko is massive. And to sign Mateus Cunha is also massive. There's 3 big signings. Of course they need a new goalkeeper, maybe need a new goalkeeper. They definitely need strength and depth in defence and midfield still. It's not all complete. All of a sudden, Man United for me are back in the conversation for Europe. So it looks really hard for Tottenham, but I'm going to commit to a place now. 7th, I'm saying, in the Premier League, and in my head, I have a bracket of realistically 6th to 8th. And I know Everton have lost the first game of the season, and Moyes will want more in the transfer window. But considering how Everton done the second half of last season under David Moyes, and the fact they strengthened and most importantly kept hold of key players, whether they're injured or not doesn't matter. Pickford, Brathwaite, I forgot his name then, Ndai. Others like that have kept hold of their key players and they've strengthened. Jack Grealish, big signing. I think eventually will be regular Everton starters. So when that gels for Moyes, I think they'll be in that push for Europe. I do. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh my God, Everton, top 6. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they'll be in the top half pushing for out of Europe. That's how I feel at the minimum. So yeah, Premier League, I'm saying 7th. But in my head, I have a 6th to 8th bracket, depending purely on signings. If we sign well, we can push that upper, maybe even 5th. But let's say 6th, we can push that. If we don't sign any more players or just sign one player, then we put ourselves in a difficult situation, in particular if we don't get Eze over the line. I don't think we will get Savinha, but I think we will get Eze. But if we don't get both, then it does change. Not being funny, players do make that big of a difference, in particular when we're talking about Eze as well. Committed. Premier League 7th. Champions League, again, it's going to be tough, like I said, to juggle both that and the league. It's going to be very difficult to compete on all four fronts, and that's why you need depth, firstly, in every position. And I just think, for example, fullback positions going into it with Porro, Spence, Doggy, and Ben Davies isn't quite enough. I think Ben Davies should be a fifth and backup left back. That's just a fifth backup fullback. It'd be backup like kind of left back, but for me, it shouldn't be that backup. We should be a little bit further than that. It should be the backup, if that makes sense. So it should be third in line to play at left back, or we shouldn't be relying on him every week, which we could do. Because for me, if you said to me now, Porro got injured or Doggy got injured like he currently is, or okay, let's reword that another day. If Porro or Spence get injured, then we've got a real problem on our hands, and that shouldn't be the case. It's frustrating to say, and that is the problem we've got, and we need more centre back cover as well. That's the thing. If we get Eze over the line, midfield's looking very strong. We get Savinha over the line, the attack's looking very strong. I'm very happy with Richarlison, Solanke now. So this all depends. The Champions League is going to be really hard to juggle. New league phase, I personally really like it. Didn't like the idea of it changing. As a lot of people stubborn, like the old format of the group and the thrill of it. But the league just made it so much more exciting. It's not right for the players maybe to play more games. As fans, you love it. You can play up to 60 games a year if you juggle all competitions. That's purely because of Europe. And reminder, this format goes across the Champions League, Europa League and UEFA Conference League. So I'm going to commit to it now and say Champions League round of 16. I think for Tottenham, I think the aim's got to be get out of the league phase and see what you can do, depends on the draw. And the Champions League, out of all the competitions, I'd argue, is the hardest to predict because of the fact we don't know who we're going to get. And you could say that as well, of course, about the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup. Premier League, you know who you're going to get. Carabao and FA Cup is limited though. It's just within teams in England. It's probably going to be a Premier League club. It's probably going to be a top 6, top 8 club. If you get to the latter stages, let's say the quarter final, you know that. Whereas the Champions League could literally be anyone out of pot A, B, C, D. It could be anyone. And I like that. The league phase is jumbled. It's not you're going to have Man City getting the easy games. It's got to have someone out of each pot. I really like that. So Champions League, I'm saying round of 16. So I've done the Premier League so far and Champions League. Quick recap. I said 7th Premier League and Champions League round of 16. I think it'd be very positive. And I have to predict. I'm going to predict that extra place, just one, come to England again this year. Possibility that it doesn't. I'm going to predict it does again, which means that I think Tottenham will be playing the UEFA Conference League the following season. That's the Europa League, not quite that one, but it does look similar, but green round the other side. Carabao Cup next. This is tough again. Of course, everything's tough to predict. If we went all out for it, of course we could do well, but to juggle all is going to be really hard. I'm going quarter-final of the Carabao Cup. Come on, Harry, let's be specific here. Quarter-final and be, unfortunately, knocked out by Manchester United. I think that will hurt. I think that'll be the case. I think it'll be extra time, maybe like or penalties rather. I think in a 1-1 or on penalties, something along the lines of that. I'm going to be knocked out by Manchester United in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup. Then, last but not least, FA Cup. I think this is the only one where we're going to struggle slightly. I'm stuck between two. I'm going 5th round, and I'm going for an unexpected knockout. Again, it's so hard to predict too, isn't it? Let's be totally honest here. I think an unexpected knockout to someone like an Ipswich or West Brom, an upper championship team in round 5. So that may sound disappointing, but just to recap, because I'm actually really looking forward to this season. I think we're going to do well under Frank, and this I think would be a fairly positive season. Let me read it out to recap, and I can explain in more detail. In the Premier League, I think we're finished 7th at this moment in time. Champions League, I think we get to the round of 16. Carabao Cup, I think we get to the quarter-finals, and the FA Cup, I think we get to the 5th round. And I'll say it again: Premier League 7th place, Champions League round of 16, Carabao Cup quarter-finals, and FA Cup 5th round. But what I will also say again is that if we sign Eberechi Eze in particular, let's say we sign Eze, and we get our other aim of, centre back cover, just even those two players, and those players probably want 3, probably on the left wing as well. We just get those two, and that changes. I'll be sitting there going sit for, can we get to another final? That's what I'll be saying, and that means I predict and say now that Tottenham won't win a trophy, and that hurts to say. But I think it's really hard to compete on all 4 fronts unless the club, Daniel Levy in particular, follows up on his words. And I hope by this time the video gets to you, or whether it be the time you watch it, the time it comes out, or we come back to this video in a few days' time when the transfer window closes, or a couple of weeks' time, just under, and find out that Tottenham have got Eze over the line and things are really positive. To be clear, I'm going to say it now, I think Thomas Frank is the right man for Tottenham. I think he's going to succeed, he's going to win trophies, and we're going to do very well. That's how I feel. I think he's the manager to get us there and become competitively successful. I think he's going to really work out Tottenham, and a better way of phrasing that is become competitive in every single competition at the latter stages. I think this would be a first season of real progress, real development. I don't think we get those 3 players we need. I think, in my opinion, we just sign Eze and maybe someone like a Nathan Collins as a centre-back cover. But as I said, I hope I come back to this, prove me wrong. I hope we win a trophy. I hope we do even better in the Premier League, etc., etc. But Champions League, I think that's probably quite positive to say. I think we get to the round of 16. So I've taken a different view to I usually do, because I'm usually a very optimistic fan, right? If people don't know me and this channel, and deep down I've got, come on, we can win a trophy. Romero's a captain, it feels right to really push on. But then my head says, Harry, at the moment we're lacking in several positions, and I can't, with less than 2 weeks to go to the transfer window, and for me, missing 3 or 4 key spots, in my opinion, Frank might not agree, I think we're missing depth or quality, in particular depth, in the following: centre-back, full-back, this can be either left-back or right-back, purely depends on what position Spence is. If they think Spence is better at right-back, of course he can play both, that's fine, but I'm going to say centre-back, left-back is what I'm going to commit with, left-winger, and a number 10. We're missing 4 positions with about 11 days, 12 days at a push to go of the transfer window at the time of recording. I can't commit and say that Tottenham are going to win a trophy or are going to get to a final because we're lacking in those areas, if it makes sense. If we get Eze over the line, the hype from that, the staying in that, there's no mistake about it. Eze is the difference from a average, okay window, a decent window, to a great window. He's a statement signing. So that's where I am. A lot of waffling for me and explanation in detail. So to recap, I think Premier League Tottenham finished 7th, round of 16 in the Champions League, quarter-final of the Carabao Cup, and 5th round of the FA Cup. Let me know your Tottenham predictions for every single competition in the comments below. I just feel it's frustrating that I don't think Spurs will win a trophy, but I think, as I said, Frank's the right man. It's about patience. It's not about, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not about winning necessarily this season. The aim is to compete on all 4 fronts. And I would argue my kind of goals here mean that we are competing on all 4 fronts. I think we get Europe in the Premier League. I think we get at the league phase of the Champions League. I think we get to at least a quarter-final, neither the Carabao Cup or FA Cup. Really undecided which one. I've gone with the Carabao Cup quarter-final. The only one that I think will be a disappointment and a shock is the FA Cup. I think as a Championship team might, be jubilated from how they're doing in the league campaign. I've just made a bold prediction. I think we struggle. I think maybe before when we have 2 or 3 tough games that week, trying to juggle maybe 3 games in the space of 11 days, let's say, or 10 days, 9 days, realistically 10 or 11, and we just struggle for fitness and for players, and we just get it slightly wrong, get knocked out to a Championship team. But those are my thoughts. Get involved in the comments below. Please be more positive than me. But for now, a massive COYS Spurs. Thanks for watching. If you're new, like and subscribe to the channel. Those are my 25-26 season predictions of Tottenham. Let's come back to that in a few months' time. COYS Spurs.